All right, so if you guys have been watching any of my previous videos, you'll know that I have a project car. It's an E36 that I recently turboed. I've been having trouble with the ECU. It's a Speeduino that I kind of put together. If you guys don't know what that is, it's an open-based ECU in a way. Every time that it idles, I notice that sometimes it'll idle right, it'll idle perfect, but other times it'll run like shit, and I have no idea what's going on. It's frustrating, honestly. So I've been trying to diagnose it and just kind of tinker with it and figure out what's been going on. So one of the things I did was just take it apart, and I took off the motherboard and all the electronics from inside the case. Just took it apart, and I noticed that every time I would do that, every time I would separate the electronics from the case, it would start running right. And every time I put it back on the case, it'd start running like shit. So it just got me thinking, that's strange. Why is it doing that? But the more I thought about it, the more I guess realized that it's the case itself. Somehow, some way, it must be grounding some electronic component on the motherboard and causing it to short out or something. At least that's my theory. So that's kind of what we'll be tackling today. Today's objective is to design, create, and 3D print a case for the ECU, kind of duplicate the one that it has right now, but just make it out of plastic, and see if we can fix that idling problem that I've been having. This is one thing you guys should know. This is me speaking from the future. I've already gone ahead and designed everything. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble actually creating this little case. It's something that sounds super simple, right? It's just a box. You just need to create and make a box. But there's a lot of things I learned with 3D printing specifically in this video. One thing is working with ASA. I don't know if you guys have worked with ASA before. If you don't know what it is, it's just like an ABS plastic. A lot of car manufacturers use it for their interior parts and stuff. ASA is super similar to ABS, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong with it when you're 3D printing with it. For example, you get a lot of warping of the plastic. You have to use a lot of specialty stuff to get it to work right. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way. So we have a lot of trouble in this video, and I'll be talking about everything that I did wrong and all the different steps that it took to get it to print right and work how I wanted it to. So that's kind of the plan for this video. If you guys like it and enjoy it, and you learn something from it, I hope you guys do. I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. It helps keep me motivated. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk design. Let's dissect the thought process here for making a design for Fusion 360. So this is the original ECU. This is the box. It's a two-part design. There's a top lid and there's the bottom plate. There's a lot of small detail to it, but I realized that I don't really need any of this. As you can see, it's not even that good of a design. All these clips are fucking broken off. There's only two that hold it in place right now. Let's go ahead and tear this apart, and I can show you what's going on. Okay. So this is the circuit board. This is the Speeduino itself. We can set this aside. All we really need is the box itself. So as you can see, it's aluminum, and somehow, some way, I believe at least, that the circuit board is touching some part of the metal here. But this is what we'll be trying to take measurements of. So it's pretty simple. The measuring part is, kind of self-explanatory. You just take a digital caliper, mine's just a Pittsburgh, best of the best right here, and you just measure the whole box. You get all the small measurements, all the different stuff that you need. Figure out how big the box is, figure out how big the opening is. This little lip here I incorporated, as well as the thickness of this plate, because this is what actually slides in place and there's 2 springs that kind of hold this whole thing in place. There's no screws, so I needed to figure out how thick this was. So when I put the plastic one in, it'd hold it in place snugly, like. All right, the only thing different that I wanted to do was change up how these 2 parts come together. Since I can't rely on using, these metal tabs, what I was thinking of doing was having a 2-part design still, but instead having the top be one piece, and then the rest from here on down be one separate piece. I was thinking to give it a bit more rigidity. Initially, what I was planning on doing was adding clips on the side here, and just having the top kind of snap into place. That didn't end up working out so well, and what I ended up doing instead was making it so I could screw in 4 screws and just make them flush with the top. But that was really the only change that I made to this. These cutouts I did myself, but I added that into the print itself too. But yeah, once I had all those measurements, I took them all into Fusion 360, modeled up something, and went ahead and printed it out. All right, so once I had my design dialed in on Fusion 360, I uploaded everything onto Cura. I started printing, and that's when all the problems started happening. Allow me to introduce you to my pile of shame. All right, so before I show you my final product, my Picasso, my Da Vinci, my masterpiece, I wanted to talk about all the problems I had along the way. As you just saw, I went through tons of different prints, had to be over 15 to 20 just to get everything right. I was having all kinds of problems from the bed, just the material of the bed, nothing was sticking to it. I had to swap beds. Everything was coming off. I was having problems with warpage. I was having problems with the measurements being off slightly. I had to tweak things left and right. I had to get everything dialed. I'd have a complete part. I put everything together and it wouldn't fit right. It was driving me nuts. This is kind of just a mini rant. I'm here just to tell you, don't give up on any of your projects. I know shit can go sideways, and it can drive you up a wall. That's kind of what this is doing for me. It's not that I'm going to give up. It's just, it's frustrating, right? You want to get everything right, but every time you do it, it just doesn't end up right. It ends up getting messed up somehow, some way. Things don't go right. This or that, whatever it is. Stay relentless with what you're doing. Eventually it will turn out right, and you will have good luck. You can take a lot of L's. I've taken a lot of L's in these past couple of weeks. It's such a simple design too, but it was just my incompetence with 3D printing. I am new to it. There are some things that I did to make this process easier. The first thing was I educated myself. I got a book on diagnosing 3D printing. It's a book on Amazon. I'll link it in my description. I also had to switch out my board for the sheet that's on the bottom that everything gets printed to. I swapped that over to a PEI sheet, and the final thing I did to get everything perfect was the ghettoest thing you could do. I put an enclosure over my 3D printer, but not a good one. I just really quickly cut one up out of cardboard and put that over the printer just because I was fed up with having a bunch of ugly and warped prints. That's the thing about ABS and ASA. It loves to warp, but I was even having problems with the PETG. Initially, that's what I was using, but I ended up running out since I was making so many different prints. So I swapped over to ASA. It's the one to use anyways. It's what you use for car parts. But I started using that cardboard box that I cut out in like 5 minutes, and it actually worked, funny enough. So let me show you my final print. All right, so real quick, I just had to take the lid off and kind of sand down the bottom piece here just to get it to lay a little bit more flat. But I got it screwed down in place. It fits decent. If anything, I could have changed the design a bit, but I think it'll work for what we got going on. And it's pretty cool. The screws sit flush, a little bit below flush actually. This piece back here is popping out a bit. I could actually change that, but I think it'll be fine. It'll work for what it's supposed to do. It's not meant to be waterproof. It's just meant to kind of contain everything. And that's what it's doing right now. And yeah, looks pretty legit. All right, so cool. Now that everything fits up and we have the box here ready to go, I say we go ahead, put it in the car, and see if it works. All right, and that is the 3D printed ECU case finished. So as you've seen in the last clip, it did end up fixing the weird idle problem I was having. So now I just have to fix everything else that's going wrong with the car. But that's another story on its own. So I will be posting the files for the case on, I think it's called Printables. It's a different website than Thingiverse. That's what I was using before, but that website is garbage. That website is trash. I was having so much trouble just trying to upload my files on there. So I'm going to try Printables this time. But if anybody is interested, I'll have it up on there for you guys to get for free. But other than that, this was a fun project. And yeah, now we've done two things. So we'll see what else I can come up with here. And yeah, that pretty much sums everything up for today. If you guys stuck through to the end of the video here, I'd appreciate if you guys liked and subscribed. And other than that, have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.